Following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Nick Eatman, Brian Broaddus, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, April 5th, 2023, Season 18, episode number 123. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm back in studio. I've gotten back, allowed Amber now to kind of sit over there and be on her phone and not have to worry about hosting this thing. So thank you for hosting while I've been out.
When does it flip over? I mean, this is 123.
You're right. You're right. It actually would have flipped over today. This is actually episode number 1 of season 19, Nick.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's how that looked so scripted, but it really wasn't.
It really was.
I was just like, when do you flip
April
it over?
1st. It's the NFL.
Yeah, calendar
Our
year.
calendar year starts in April. So,
Okay.
yes, that would be.
Okay.
You got
Good to know.
Well, that really bothered
All right,
me.
let me start over. Season 19, episode number 1.
Chris, do the whole intro again. Let's start over.
19.
I wore a sweatshirt from the first show that we've ever done. This is a Bill Parcells special.
It
from
is, actually. That does remind me
2003.
of-
All
Yeah.
you need is some ice. Yeah.
This is the one this is the sweatshirt that Bill had on when he started undressing in front of me, and it was making me very uncomfortable.
Captain Morgan style.
Captain Morgan style, yeah. That was it. This was the sweatshirt that he had on that day.
Well, welcome to the 19th season.
Yeah.
Don't see a swoosh over there.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
Hide that. Abort. All right. Welcome to the 19th season of The Break.
Hang on.
Yeah,
Jesus.
19 seasons, Nick. It's been 19 seasons of doing this show, and so let's have some fun today. I know I was out during the meat of free agency, and when everything was going, it was crazy because I was on vacation the first week and literally calling Nick and bothering him. Well, he was actually trying to work. Like, can you believe they're doing all this? Like, this is crazy. And so
then I would turn over here. I was like, can you believe someone would be on vacation? During
right, yeah, it happens every.
It's usually
year,
the front office.
No, it happens. It happens every year for me because that's usually spring break.
That's your opinion.
2 for 2, huh?
Brian Broaddus.
I'm in
On a roll
Off the
today.
last season of.
You gonna make it to 20 season, bro?
Probably not. Probably not.
But no, it was an interesting free agency, start to free agency, because it's not something we've been used to seeing with this front office. So what I would love to do today is I want to take a little bigger picture view of this. Now that we've gotten past the initial wave of free agency, and quite frankly, the meat of free agency, anything else that happens at this point, they will be kind of those deals that really won't probably make as big of a difference for your team. They're kind of fillers at this point. But before we get into that conversation, I want to talk about a couple final deals that got done, or I shouldn't say final, but a couple more deals that got done last week since the last time you guys were on the air. Jonathan Hankins, Cowboys signed him to a 1-year deal. What does this move do for this team?
It clogs up the middle. Man, and I thought when he came in, they made that trade. To me, I don't remember the dates exactly, but I thought after that Eagles game up there in Philly where they had to get off the field on defense and they just couldn't. They couldn't stop the run. Yeah. They said we got to make a change. They got Hankins in. They didn't face Hurts and the Eagles again, until they didn't face him again. But I still think you could tell they were stopping the run better. And then when he gets hurt, you can see a difference. So to me, he solidifies the middle. He's an older guy. You still need some more help, but I do think it's a nice because
he's got an ass.
Yeah, he's the type of guy.
From season 7? I don't know, whatever.
We still don't know. You didn't hear the drop, but we still don't
I know the
You know exactly.
I know
know
which
exactly
drop.
where
we don't know
Yes.
who I was referring to.
I
don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was probably like a Montre Holland or somebody like that.
That's how to party.
Yeah.
No, yeah, Nick made up a song about, yeah.
It was one of those kind of guys. But anyway, go ahead.
So California Dreaming, right?
No, I don't even know what you're talking about. Montre Holland is now the starter. Montre Holland is now the starter. He keeps on blocking. It has California love.
California love. That's
a
the California
Nick
dream.
original.
California love. That's right. I'm sorry.
Todd Archer
It's a
helped with that.
classic.
It was a little
That sounds
Co-writing.
co-writing.
I can believe that.
On the field as they're stretching, and it was just it was playing. There's some other versions of it, maybe some radio edits and some explicit that we won't get into. But for the most part, yeah, it's good. And I love Montre Holland. He's one of my favorites.
Thank you. Amber.
Keeps on blocking.
Keeps on
I don't
blocking.
remember what I was about to say.
Hankins, why he's good.
Hankins. To me, he's the type of player that you don't necessarily, me from my own perspective, I don't really pay attention to him, what he's doing on the field, but you just know that the type of difference maker he is. Just like Nick said, you know when he's on the field because you see how it affects the run versus when he's not on the field. So I just know the running defense, stopping the run, improved tremendously when he was on there and the way he was blocking. He's a guy that has a lot of strength. So very, very big move. And Dan Quinn and keeping the main guys that he needs on defense, I think they've done such a good job this offseason in free agency and keeping key players and maintaining a defense that you're pretty much set in all areas, or at least you got guys that you're like, okay, this is going to be competitive. So very big signing for the Cowboys.
Nick, you got a really good memory. What was the game he made the stop on 4th and 1 and got hurt? The game this year.
You got me on that one.
Yeah,
it was late.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, I probably could have looked it up, and I'm messing up looking at other things here. But the thing, and Ambar's absolutely right. When he was on the field, you knew, because not only you saw what happened up front, you saw Leighton Vander Esch running and making plays. Mm-hmm. The way that he and then maybe he even helps Osa Odigizua next to him, because all of a sudden now he's doing a lot of the dirty work. He's taking up blocks. Vander Esch is running downhill. Osa's like, he's now, he's on a one-on-one with somebody, and now he's winning. They just seem like when he was on the field, they got more bodies to the ball. And when he wasn't on the field, it was guys having to deal with blockers in their laps. They couldn't get off. And then, what would have been a gain of maybe 2-3 yards is now a 5 or 6 yard gain. And you could see it just watching the games. You're like, well, who's playing? It's Bohanna. And again, sound like I'm slamming Bohanna here. But, Bohanna is a big guy that doesn't know how to play like Hankins does. Hankins is a big body guy that knows how to play, knows how to take up blocks, knows how to hold guys up, knows how to be in the right gap when it's 4th and 1, and somehow, some way he's got a guy in his chest, but he reaches back with his arm and makes a 4th and 1 stop. That's the kind of stuff you notice. It's like, my gosh, he might have 1 or 2 plays a game that you notice like that. But the other 60 plays, he's helping Leighton Vander Esch have 12 tackles that day. Mm-hmm. That's what this guy does. And I think it's maybe taking them out of the market. We're going to have the draft show after this today. We were talking about defensive tackles, one techniques, guys like that maybe at 26 they're going to take. I don't think they have to now. I don't think they have to. I think they had a checklist of how they were going to do this. And then they sprinkled in a couple of trades that we didn't really see coming. We saw. I personally thought the start of free agency was going to be Jake McQuaid. I thought, they're going to sign the long snapper first, and they're going to. But no, they had a systematic plan in the way they did it, and Hankins just happened to be the last piece, I think, of that checklist that they went into free agency with.
So let's flip the script. There was a guy that I think they probably had some marginal interest in bringing back that they did not bring back. He signs, Carlos Watkins signs with Arizona on a 1-year deal. How much will the Cowboys miss him?
Not a lot. I really don't believe that. And I'm nothing against him. But sometimes when you give anybody, this is to a football player, or if you say it to your kids, if you say take it or leave it, sometimes they leave it. Yeah. And that's what the deal was. Take it or leave it to a lot of those guys. Hankins was one of them. Watkins too. Carlos Watkins. Take it or leave it. We're not negotiating with you. He found a better deal.
Initially, they were interested.
Yeah, they wanted to bring him back.
But under their terms.
Right. I just wasn't sure if they were interested.
Yeah.
Bring
But
him
you know,
back.
but he was a guy also. They put him on the practice squad, and he, you know, they were.
His attitude changed when he got released.
It's true.
It changed. It really, and he realized it's like, whoa, wait, I'm not one of the 53 guys. They think I'm important. I'll tell you where I noticed him the most. The Cowboys throughout the season had several games where they had goal line stands. Mm-hmm. And it was like, you know, up front, it was, wow, Watkins. Tank, Watkins. I mean, they were they were playing on that same side. Maybe not so much noticed him in the field, but noticed him when it got tight and it's like holding up guys.
Yeah, it's a good time to shine.
Yeah, and that's where I felt like that they wanted Watkins back with Dan Quinn and those guys, because he went from being a guy that played extremely tall and let people wash him to a guy that would play with good base and would hold up right there. And I just remember, like, from our end zone seats, you guys are a little further down than me where I sit, but being right down there, you know, you kind of focus in on when it's happening in front of you. And I just remember Carlos Watkins and then going and watching the film the next day like, yeah, that makes sense. He made that. It was a good play.
Yeah.
It might not have been. It's the same thing with like what you're getting, you know, with Hankins. It's one or two plays a game that makes you go, that's why he's one of the 48 today dressing.
Yeah.
Because of those types of plays.
And frankly, at that position, that's kind of how it works. Like a defensive tackle, unless you're a Warren Sapp type, you're probably not going to be a guy, especially at one technique, you're probably not going to be a guy that's always like just flashing. You're going to have a few plays a game where you can be like really make an impact. And that's one of the reasons why I thought Hankins was a very important signing, because he did make that impact in those plays, and he was willing to do the dirty work on all those other plays that you don't necessarily know.
See, I mean, they had to go get Hankins, and they had to draft Bohanna because Neville Gallimore got in a doghouse. You know, Neville Gallimore. We're doing preseason games, and Brad Sham looks up and Neville Gallimore's in the game in the fourth quarter, and you're going,
preseason game,
in the preseason game, you're going, wait a minute, what's going on here? That's a veteran guy, you know? But they were searching for somebody to be like Hankins and Carlos Watkins and those guys, just to make those 2 or 3 dirty plays a game.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to jump into our free agency. We're going to call it a recap. It's not over, but we're definitely going to recap where the Cowboys are at this point and what they've done to this point. We'll do that when we come back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Homeownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America NA, Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Back to the break.
Register now for 2023 Dallas Cowboys youth camps presented by Invisalign. athletes ages 6 to 16 are invited to learn from the best this summer at AT&T Stadium and Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. Visit DallasCowboys.com/camps.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. The segment presented to you by Blockchain.com. Awesome. Let's recap this free agency thus far. I'm going to read out these lists of the players that were added, the players that were re-signed, the players that they lost, and the players that are still available. Let's look at who was added. Stephon Gilmore, Brandin Cooks, both in trade. Chuma Edoga, Ronald Jones, and long snapper Trent Sieg. Who they re-signed: Donovan Wilson, Leighton Vander Esch, Cooper Rush, Tony Pollard, Tack McKinley, Jonathan Hankins, C.J. Goodwin, Dante Fowler, and Rico Dowdle. And here are the players that they lost: Noah Brown, Luke Gifford, Connor McGovern, Jake McQuaid, Dalton Schultz, and Carlos Watkins. Here's the first question I got for you guys. Was there anybody that was lost that you think the Cowboys really wanted?
No. Not really wanted. I think they wanted Jake McQuaid. But if you really want him, you can pay for him.
Yep.
Do you feel like the ship sailed on Dalton Schultz after the San Francisco playoff game?
So you think there was a moment when they were just kind of like, yeah, we're good?
Earlier than that, I think.
You think it was earlier than that?
I do think. Now that I hear stuff, I don't.
There was something going on for a while where you can just sense some kind of discontent from, like, at times. And Nick, you've seen it, and I don't know if you saw it, Derek, at any moments, like after a game during the locker room. At times, you just see him, even when he had a good game, or even when the Cowboys won, like Dalton would just be kind of in a bad mood for whatever reason.
Well, some of that might have been
because the contract.
Well, I think some of that might have been. I got the impression, and people that I know in the media had mentioned things that suggested he was upset with the media. So it might have been some of that, and I don't know if that necessarily. I don't know if that necessarily goes to the organization, but I think part of what we may have been seeing in the locker room was maybe there was some discontent with the media in how they covered this whole contract situation.
Because even when you saw him interacting, or even on the field, you could see his relationship with the younger tight ends, and it was really good. I mean, at least that's what we all got to see on the field and all that.
Yeah, I mean, he brushes his teeth with salt water. I mean, he's salty. I mean, he always has been, and that's just he was just a real smart guy too. So. Yeah, the media always was dumb questions and stuff like that. But I think he tried to be a good team player with the young guys. You know, you saw he was playing with all the, he jumped in
the bucket.
Yeah, what was that? Whack-a-mole, and then the one where they were getting roped around. I mean, he was the one down there. I mean, he was trying, but I think he was still. It's kind of tough when you know you're on a 1-year deal and you see these young guys and you want to help them.
Your replacement's there.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It was interesting. Was it Austin Hooper? I think that played for the Browns or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was in a situation and he said, "Yeah, we're trying to help these young tight ends wherever he was." He goes, "It's not like Jason Witten." Okay, now Austin Hooper wasn't with Dallas.
Yeah,
but his college teammate Dalton Schultz was.
Yeah.
So you kind of just connect the dots, and you're like, trying to read between the lines, but how would you know that other than Dalton Schultz? And did Dalton feel that way? Yeah. And then, ironically, here he's in a situation, and you kind of heard the same stuff too. All I know is when his price was lower, and he was not signed, it got to the point where should the Cowboys bring him back?
That's the question I had. And that's why I just asked you this, because I just was there. He was a franchise tag player. Then he got out there and nobody wanted him. And then now you're thinking, was there a bridge burned, water under the bridge? Were the Cowboys completely happy with, they love Hendershot. They really do. I mean, they like Ferguson too, but they love Hendershot. That they feel like they stole one there. Yeah. That might be the next one. But you kind of wondered if the number would ever get low enough. But to me, it was like if the number ever got low enough, Dalton Schultz probably wouldn't come back. Yeah. He would probably say, I'll
take that deal with somebody else.
I'm good to go to Houston, who is doing a total rebuild with a new quarterback, new everything, He
got 3 times the money I think he was going to get here. At that point. I just don't think they were going to offer him anything, and then they knew.
And that wasn't a great deal he got.
See, it's funny, Nick, and I don't know if you guys have heard this stuff, and I mean, just talking to people around the league that kind of had an idea about the money, he turned down a pretty significant offer from the Cowboys. That would have been. It was going to be a longer year deal, and people think, oh, it was 3 years. I think it was here something like 5 years. Did he turn down? That was roughly going to pay him like $10 to $12 million a year. He turned that down.
I think 36 guaranteed.
Yeah, it was.
He turned it.
Yeah,
down?
Yeah. I was here. I mean, again, I was talking
David
to
Njoku's contract messed the whole thing up.
Yeah, I was.
And then he ends up on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
And by the way, here's the tough part. And obviously, he and his agent know more than I do about what his situation is. But I have to wonder if I'm him. I'm going to a team like Houston that's in a total rebuild, no guarantees of who the quarterback's going to be, let alone if that quarterback's going to be good enough to be able to really help him get what he needs to be able, because he's taking a gamble on himself saying, I'll do a 1-year deal. Like that just, it creates a really tough situation for him going back into free agency next year after not really knowing who your quarterback's going to be, or if that quarterback's going to be any good.
The numbers could be
tough.
Yeah, the numbers could be really, really good if it's a young quarterback and he's throwing the time. Dalton Schultz knows how to play the game. He knows how to get open and all that. Will they find a way to get him open? I just feel like, though, that I think there was a lot of bitterness. You talk about towards the media and the way that contract stuff was covered. I think there was a little bit bitterness towards the Cowboys about not getting something done long term. Mm-hmm. You know, they were like, the Cowboys, when they did it, when they franchise tagged him, and you guys could correct me if I'm wrong, you move on from Amari Cooper, there's the unknown about Michael Gallup and stuff like that. They just couldn't totally gut the offense of pass catchers.
Yeah.
They couldn't just totally move on from Dalton Schultz and Amari Cooper, and they just couldn't do it. So, they say, okay, well, franchise tag. Me personally, I feel like that the Tony Pollard deal could be very similar to what we saw with Dalton Schultz. 1 year, hold you, see what we got. I personally, this is my opinion, I don't think you're going to get a long-term deal done with Tony Pollard. I think they'll find a way to move. I mean, you'll probably draft a guy, and then you'll have that guy, and that guy he'll take over the Tony Pollard role. Right. Is what will happen.
It's all about what happens in the draft, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's all about what happens in the draft.
Exactly.
Get a guy that really can take over.
Yeah, that's just my opinion. I think they're using this tag to say, okay, fine, we need to have you here, but let's see. There's a lot of unknown about Pollard coming back from this injury. Mm-hmm. We could all talk about it. We've done it for years around here. Well, Dak coming back, he should be. Gallup coming back, he should be. We always talk about these guys, and you don't know how their bodies are going to respond.
I've seen Pollard twice this offseason. Both times I thought it was Zeke. It's like kind of from afar.
As he bulked up?
Getting bigger.
I might need LASIK again.
Did he grow his hair?
But yeah, I mean, it was
longer beard.
It was a lot of things.
Nose ring.
You just looking at him, yeah.
Multiple.
I'm gonna stop, but no, I do think he's bulked up some, or he looks different, or
he's going to work hard, and Britt Brown and those guys are going to work. I'm just saying the unknown. It's not the work ethic and getting them right, but you just don't know how the body's going to respond.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Michael Gallup. It was like it seemed like it was 10 weeks before we kind of felt like, but he had some games where it was zero. 0 catches, 0 yards, and you're like going, is it the knee? Is it the And you're hopeful that he's better. I mean, we're just that's the hope.
But let's also be clear: any conversation we have about running backs is all, especially veteran running backs, is always going to go back to the point of replacement value for running backs in the NFL is actually a pretty favorable things for teams.
I get in a lot of fights over this.
There are so many young backs coming out of college that can produce if you can put them in the right situation immediately. Yeah. And the longer that goes, the more years they're in the NFL, the more there's a drop off, and that drop off can be pretty precipitous. So that's what it's more about than even any individual player like a Tony Pollard. It's more about, like, are we going to bet? When you start talking about a long-term deal, are you going to bet that he defies the odds of what's happened to all these other running backs over time?
Yeah, I don't think the Cowboys want to get into the running back business anymore. I mean, with big contracts and stuff like that. I just don't. I think that they're grateful for what Zeke did, but I don't think they want to get in that business. This is a very rare year when you watch in the draft for the running backs. This thing is going to go from the first round to the fifth round easy with quality
Good
running.
players.
Really good players.
Yeah.
Your University of Texas has got two of them.
Yeah.
You could take one of them in the first, and he might be one of the best players of the whole entire draft. And his backup, you could take in the third round, and he might be just as good as the guy that was taken, first overall over the running backs.
All right, we're going to take our final break here. When we come back, I'm going to ask you guys which addition to this team you think will have the greatest impact. There are a couple players that really have turned some heads and have a lot of potential of what they can be. I want to find out from you guys which one will have the greatest impact. We'll do that in just a second. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
The season is finally here. For months, we've been gearing up to win. Now it's time for the team that performs on any field, United Ag and Turf. With John Deere zero turns for mowing, compact tractors for loading, mini excavators for digging, Gator utility vehicles for hauling, implements for grading, hay tools for baling. United Ag and Turf, for winning. The official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
This week! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Little Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is.
It's a non-fungible token. Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Homeownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Back to the break.
Get behind the scenes. Look at all things Dallas Cowboys with tours of AT&T Stadium and the Star, presented by SeatGeek. Check out the locker rooms, playing field, Super Bowl memorabilia, and more. Get your tickets today at DallasCowboys.com/tours.
Welcome back. It is the final segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. We're talking about free agency and taking a bigger picture look at what the Cowboys have done to this point. My question for you guys opening this segment is, which player that was added will have the greater impact this season? Stephon Gilmore, Brandin Cooks, Chuma Edoga, Ronald Jones, Trent Sieg.
Got to have a good snap. Starts with the operation.
Look, who would say that other than the long snapper himself?
Can't start to can't have a field goal without that guy. No, I think to me, I feel like that the corner is going to have the bigger impact here. Gilmore. I really do, because I feel like he's going to be very steady with the way that he plays. And there's going to be a lot of questions that Diggs is going to have to answer. I hope he handles this contract extension thing well. I don't want him to get distracted and all that, with what's ahead for him and having to play. And I say that in a way that I think you're going to need some really, really steady guys. Bland, Gilmore. We'll see, with Lewis coming back. We'll see how that, but I worry a little bit about that with the secondary and stuff with Diggs. I hope he just doesn't get too emotional about what's ahead for him. And all of a sudden they keep asking him questions about it, and it affects the way he plays. So you better have some guys that can kind of pick up the slack if there's some rough stuff going on in that secondary.
I mean, I don't disagree. I think this is a tie. You could go both ways. I'll just to play the other side of it. I'll say Cooks, because what I love about what he's done is that he has been very quarterback friendly, and we've said the term Dak friendly, Romo friendly, and all that. Here's a guy that's come in and he's had 1,000-yard seasons with the best of the best. He's had 1,000-yard seasons with Deshaun Watson and Davis Mills, and along with the Breeze and Brady. And so Dak fits right in between them somewhere. And I think that he'll come in and he'll be really good for this offense. So, which is what they need. They need more playmakers. We saw it in San Francisco. They didn't have playmakers. I think Cooks has shown he's a playmaker. So I think he helps too. But I mean, Gilmore on the other side of Diggs sounds pretty good too.
Yeah, to me would be. I mean, either are good, but to me, definitely Gilmore. He's a guy that seems that he would be able to step right in, fit in with the locker room, the guys here, and I do think that he will be able to elevate Diggs' game up, because if you think about it, who else was playing corner at a decent level? Nobody. So when you're lacking...
Bland.
No. Okay. Yes, absolutely. Okay. But I'm talking... on that other side.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're actually talking about.
They took guys off the street late in the year to go play the left corner.
I mean, Bland did a really, really good job.
Yeah, I think the question, what you're talking about really is Anthony Brown and with the way he played last year.
And whoever came after him.
And your second and third round picks from 2 years ago that they didn't want to put on the field.
True.
Yeah, so where I'm getting at, I think there's a thing when you don't have, even within your own team, within your own group, of the cornerback room, when you don't have somebody else creating some type of competition and turning up the level, like the intensity of things, even at practice, and you're the best one out there, it can't lead to you kind of lowering the way that you play, or maybe not going out there and competing as much. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but where I'm getting at, I think by Gilmore coming in, the fact that Diggs respects him a ton, I think it will just elevate his game, and it's just going to elevate the whole defense to another level, and that's definitely an area that we all know the Cowboys were lacking last year.
Let me ask you guys this question on Brandin Cooks, and I apologize if this is something you guys have talked about, but it's something that just still kind of lingers in the back of my mind. I love the Brandin Cooks trade.
Why does he bounce around so many places?
Yes, why has he been at so many teams? Because you look at his numbers. I mean, he's had 6 seasons where he's been over 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Teams don't typically let guys like that go. And to now be on his 5th team.
My man gets traded for first-round picks all the time.
Yeah, I just don't understand why teams are so willing to let him go when he's been productive, even as you said, Nick, when it's been with quarterbacks that aren't premier quarterbacks in this league. Do you guys have any insight on that?
No, and they asked him the same question, and of course he's definitely a glass half full guy, because he said, well, why are teams trading for me then? Why are teams?
And that's fair.
Yeah. And sometimes it happens like that. And, a lot of it is, do they view him as a progress stopper? Because what happens is that you make those, you have those seasons, and then you're like, okay, what usually comes next? When a guy balls out, what happens? He wants money. Yeah. You're like, okay, well, it was good for this number, but now that you want this, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of just a unique thing. I mean, there's only 2 guys in the history of the NFL that have had 4 1,000-yard seasons with 4 different teams.
Yeah.
Brandon Marshall and him. And you can say the same thing about Brandon Marshall. Why did he never stick too? And you don't really know. He was a good player on a lot of teams. So, but I don't think it's attitude. I really don't. I just think it's kind of more circumstantial.
My computer got locked up.
Is that you?
I guess.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what happened just here. Okay. I had the microphone. I had it turned off. I guess it just got locked up. Sorry about that.
And honestly, the one that really sticks out to me.
I was looking at Brandin Cooks' sites.
It's 2017 with the Patriots, where he had 1,082 yards. He had 7 touchdowns. He averaged 16.6 yards per catch. And it was a one-and-done season. Like, after that, then he's off to the Rams. And that one really just seems weird to me, that after 1 year...
He was traded.
He was traded, yeah. After 1 year of really good production. Like, that's good production to just be like, we're good. And again, it could have been a contract. I don't know the history there.
Either.
It could have been a contract situation where they were like, we know he's going to be asking for this amount of money. We're not willing to pay him that. And so,
Well, when the Cowboys trade him next year, we'll ask, that question, I guess, after the season. I don't know.
After he gives you 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be great.
And by the way, this is a good problem to have because he's produced everywhere. So, hey, you're going to get the production. I'm just interested to know more about why. I wish I could talk to some of the teams that made these deals and why they thought it was okay to get rid of a guy who was this productive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to wonder. But as of right now, today, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't care either. Bring him here. It just feels like, at least for this year, it just feels to me that the Cowboys finally are on the better side of the deal.
Yeah.
Sometimes you talk about free agency, and you know it's been known in the Cowboys' history of free agency that they tend to go for bargains, and you don't know how it's gonna pan out, and they always get the oh my God, what's the word in English? I'm thinking in Spanish. My brain switched to Spanish. The crumbles that are left on the plate. The crumbles left on free agency.
Yeah.
And it, for some reason this year, everything that they've done in this free agency, even though nothing feels like a huge splash, it still feels that you got a really, really good free agency. And every single guy that they brought in from outside and the guys that they've signed in-house, you just feel like they're all going to contribute this year.
Can I ask a question to the panel here? Of which are you more surprised of the way this result happened? That they traded for two quality pieces or they re-signed Donovan Wilson?
I would say, well, that's a good question, because I would say the trade, because we don't usually see it often, but re-signing the safety re-signing the safety to a big deal we haven't really seen since Roy Williams, and you could make that argument that maybe that wasn't even a great idea. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm more surprised about the trades.
Yeah.
Because they love draft picks.
Yeah.
Even though 5th and 6th rounders, they love draft picks.
Those compensatory picks.
Yeah.
They did a good job of moving those along. Really, now that you could trade those. I'm more surprised that they got Wilson done. Because coming out of the combine, talking to people, it seemed like it was miles apart. I mean, miles apart.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, Brian. And you can go back. Let's look at the history of the Jones family when they've had free agents. It's not often that they really want a guy.
They lose
and
him.
They don't get him.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
And so for me, the question I kept asking the people I was talking to around the building was, how much do they want Donovan Wilson? And exclusively, all I heard was they really want him.
It's funny because the coaching staff was adamant.
Yeah.
If you know people that know Dan Quinn, if you know people that know Mike McCarthy, I think was hinting to the media that, hey, no, Donovan Wilson is important to what we're trying to do here. And Dan Quinn and people I know are like, no, Dan loves Wilson. Like that. Like, really? Oh, no, Dan loves Wilson.
Yeah.
So to me, but then, like, there were people like Bobby Belts of the world and stuff that were dealing with, agents or whoever, and they're like, man, this one's not going to be easy. But
that's negotiations.
But that's negotiation.
No, that's
absolutely.
how the Jones family negotiates. They negotiate hard.
Yeah.
Even for players they love and they want to have here, they're going to negotiate it hard.
Jesse Bates, I think, got $14 a year from the former Bengal guy, right? And I think that's where his agent thought he was the range he was going to be in.
Yeah.
And that's why it was miles apart, because the Cowboys kind of stuck to their guns here.
Right.
So they said, I always go back to the DeMarco Murray deal. They wanted DeMarco Murray. He rushed for 1,800 yards in NFL rushing champ that year. They said, this is the number we're going to pay you. If you find it over it,
go for it.
Go for it. And he did. So I think they were going to do that with Donovan Wilson. I do. I think if we got over $10 million, they would have said, nah. But it didn't. It didn't get that far. So.
The amazing thing is, and with Adam Pacifica and those guys upstairs, and what they do is, you got a couple of players you got money back from the Texans, and got better deals.
Yeah, right.
And then you got a corner who said, "No, I'm happy about being here. I don't need any new money." You got two players. You got the Texans to pay the freight on one of the guys, and the other guy says, no, I don't need new money. I mean, usually it's like you make a trade. It's like, oh, we have to renegotiate. We have to put new money into this deal and all that. None of that. So good for them for getting it done that way.
Let's talk about another player that the Cowboys actually released this offseason, Zeke Elliott. He's still out there as a free agent. My personal belief is that it's more a situation where, as is the case a lot of times with veterans, I think it's going to be one of those things where you get to training camp, a couple teams lose their running back, and they're like, man, who's available? And, oh, wow, Zeke Elliott's available? Well, maybe we should bring him in. Yeah. Maybe that's when it happens. But we have still heard things around the Cowboys organization where they've said, yeah, never close the door on anything.
Sure.
How realistic do you think it is that Zeke Elliott is back with this team by the beginning of the season?
This team, not realistic at all. I just don't see it happening. They don't want to close the door because they don't want to say the door's closed out of respect. But I think it's you don't put the toothpaste back in the tube there. It's just not. This is not going to happen. I really don't believe it's going to happen at all here. Unless, like you said, there's an injury, and then now you're looking for something.
Yeah.
If you're needed guys on the street, something were to happen to your running backs. Yeah, well, here's a guy that knows
what he's doing, knows the environment,
kind of knows the system. I mean, the system's changing a little bit, but knows it enough.
Yeah,
but I just don't see it happening.
It's unfortunate that Zeke needed to jump in early with these teams. We saw like a week where the free agent running backs were getting signed up, and I felt like that Zeke needed to be part of that group. He needed to jump in with the team because what's happened now is pro days are over. They're upstairs working on the draft, and nobody's thinking about free agency anymore. Yeah. Nobody's thinking about. They're looking at 18 running backs and going, these 18 running backs for this, or we have to pay a guy $2.5 million.
Yeah.
That's not.
He'll get signed in May, I believe. He'll get signed.
I was hopeful that he would jump in with somebody and be with a team before the draft, before people started putting their boards together.
Is Fournette still out there?
I don't know.
Leonard Fournette, yes, he is. I believe I'm.
Because I see them as similar type guys on the free agent market, and that's where, again, those will be the guys I think that teams will fill in.
Do 5 hours of radio
if they get into a situation.
Brian knows how this goes. I mean, it's almost like a pause, where like, all right, now we're going to shift gears and we're focused on. Now you're getting close enough to free agent to the draft. Like, why would we sign this guy and then somebody falls in our lap and now we want to cut him?
You don't have to. Yeah.
So let's just wait and see, and we'll pause and then we'll revisit it.
And by the way, he'll be out there. That's the expectation. All these guys are out there now. They're probably going to still be out there in a month from now.
Probably.
So just see what happens with the draft.
What do you think has been the difference as to why they're changing strategy or changing the way that they usually do things? And when you summarize, we talked about Zeke. We know sometimes they kind of hold on to certain players that they really, really like, even outside of what they're bringing on the field, just because of the relationship there. We talked about the 2 trades. We talk about a contract with a safety. So little things like that you're not used to seeing the Cowboys do. What would you say gives into the change in free agency as a whole?
I think that, first of all, you have to have a good football team, and I think that they believe that they do, just like they did last year. They had a good team last year. They lost in the playoffs to the 49ers. I'm talking about 2 years ago. And then you go into the offseason, and they waited until they kind of made splash moves. Like, we're going to get Anthony Barr. We're going to get Jason Peters. We're going to get they still got big name guys, but they waited a little bit. But I think it was an all in approach. Like, this is a good team. We're not gonna let 1 or 2 injuries derail this team. And now that I think they just went a little bit more aggressive with it.
And I will say the quality of the big name guys they got this year versus last year is different. Like these guys, I think are still. I think they are still closer to their prime
which is
than
why
the
they
guys
had to trade for him.
Yeah,
they kind of ramped it up a little bit. And why not? Mike McCarthy knows if he doesn't go to the NFC Championship game, we're going to be talking about his job. I mean, he knows that, so he's got to go all in on this.
Ezekiel Elliott, Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette still on the street right now if you're looking for a back.
So again, those are the types of guys that teams will be able to fill in their rosters after they get past draft and look at those guys. And I would be interested to see where Zeke falls in that category among those backs. Like, is he the priority guy? Is he the top of that list, or is he kind of equal with him, and it's all about how much money you have to pay for him. I'd be interested to see what the market thinks of Zeke relative to some of those guys.
Here's what I wonder about Zeke, and really all backs when you get to this point, all players. But with Zeke, he's gotta stay in shape. He can't.
He also
I don't
needs
know
to
if
go
you've
to a
seen his
place.
social, but he's out there working.
Good. And that's what he's got to be.
He needs to go to a place too where he can split carries.
Yeah,
he learned that splitting carries is good for his health long term.
Yeah. He'll be good.
He had a lot of carries here. He had a lot of carries.
He'll be good for a team. I mean, he really will. I think. I don't know when or where it'll be, but he'll be good. It just sometimes it doesn't. It's not the one. Yeah. It's not this team. It won't be this team. I don't believe.
All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, we'll get to some questions next week. I want to get to some fan questions. We haven't done that in a while. Until then, for Nick Eatman, Brian Broaddus, Amber Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!